All right, now that we've gone through all the initial setup steps, it's time to create a proposal. So let's click on Create Proposal. We're going to select our prospect. And let's keep it simple. We're going to supply them with one unarmed officer. And let's throw in an unarmed supervisor for kicks. So for the hourly wage for the unarmed officer, we're going to put in $20 an hour. For the unarmed supervisor, we'll do 25. Total hours per week for the officer, we'll do it 128. For the unarmed supervisor, we'll do it 40. Gives us a total of 168 hours per week. Our training wage is going to be 20. The unarmed supervisor, 25. Training hours, let's say we're going to give each one of these officers 16 hours of initial training. And the unarmed supervisor will also get 16. We won't be offering any sick time hours to these employees, but we will be doing 40 hours of vacation time. Holiday hours, let's say 6 holidays, so we'll do 48 hours of holiday pay. Built-in overtime, we will assume that there is no built-in overtime. And at this particular rate of $20 for an unarmed officer, let's say we're expecting a turnover of, let's call it 50%. And with the unarmed supervisor at 25 hours, working a 40-hour week, we will say we expect a turnover of possibly 25. Next, we're going to put in training pay. So if you read this little icon, it says, please indicate the percent of officers that will need training. If this is a new contract, this number will be 100%. So let's say we are going in to take over this contract, we would put in 100%. But let's say in taking over that contract, we plan on retaining a bunch of their officers. So we're only going to have to train 50% of the current personnel.
If you were rebidding on a current contract that you had, then your training pay would equal 0 because all of your officers have already been trained.
Next, for unbillable overtime, let's read what this says. What percent of overtime do you believe you will need to be able to bill the client for? So let's say, on estimate, we think we'll have, 7% overtime that we're going to have to account for. People staying over late because people missing shifts, that type of thing. So we're going to build in that unbillable overtime into our pricing rate, or our billing rate rather. Next, here we go to uniforms. So let's say we're going to use our Class A uniforms, and we're going to supply each officer with 2 long sleeve shirts, and we think we'll have to replace those every year. Short sleeve shirts, let's say we'll have to do 3, and we'll replace those yearly. With pants, let's say we're going to supply them with 3 sets of pants, and we will replace those every 2 years. So here, essentially what we're saying is, again, because we're depreciating these items over 2 years, we're going to say the depreciable life of these are 24 months. What else are we going to need? Let's say we are going to need a raincoat, 1 raincoat per employee, and this is going to last for 24 months. 1 set of rain pants, which will last for 24 months. And we'll supply 1 windbreaker, which will last for 24 months. We will also provide them, let's call it a baseball cap, 1, and we expect that to last for 24 months. So again, keep in mind, you should be conservative with these numbers, right? Because if your items are only lasting 1 year, that means you'll be going in your pocket into your profit number to supply these new items. So to be conservative, you might want to say, hey, you replace all of this stuff every 12 months. That way, if it does last 2 years, that is more dollars in your pocket. And lastly, let's say we're going to supply a badge. And the badge is going to last 24 months. So here we have our sales tax with our total annual cost, and we will choose next. And please keep in mind that we are building in our turnover numbers into these total annual cost. So for this particular site, we are going to do 1 5-panel drug screen per employee and 1 local background check. Oh, and now we have to make sure we're doing a COVID test. And here we can see what our total annual cost for background checks will be. Next, officer reports. We know that is a yearly charge, so we're going to do that for 12 months. Our cell phone will last for 2 years. Our computer will last for 2 years. And cell phone service is a monthly or yearly thing, so we'll put in 12 there. And we can see what our total cost plus taxes for our other direct expenses is. And we'll choose next. And if you are still in your free trial, this is the message that you will get. You'll have to start your subscription to actually get to the billing rates. But let's just, move past this and say, all right, we've started our subscription, so what's next? We will click next, which will take us over to our total expenses so we can see what those numbers look like. So our uniforms are going to account for 9 cents an hour, background expenses 3 cents an hour, other direct expenses 16 cents an hour, total other expenses 27 cents an hour, with total direct expenses of $25.99 and $32.36. All right, here's the money page. So for our profit margin, let's say we are looking at a 12% profit margin. Well, at a 12% profit margin, we're looking at about $3.54 for the unarmed officer and $4.41 for the unarmed officer, which gives us a straight bill rate. So a weighted bill rate, if you just want to give your customers 1 bill rate rather than 2, would be $31.26. But if you want to give them bill rates per officer, it would be $29.54 for your unarmed officer, $36.78 for your unarmed supervisor. For your premium bill rate, this is kind of overtime type of stuff. If you're charging for that, you push that out to 1.5 times. And for emergency bill rates, it's common to do 2. So your weighted premium bill rate would be $46.89, and your emergency bill rate would be $62.52. And here is what each one of those are for each officer. And that's how you calculate a bill rate. If you have questions, please feel free to submit those to billinghelp@officerbilling.com. Again, that's billinghelp@officerbilling.com. We look forward to speaking with you.